Bill, you recently have noted that more than 1 billion people lack access to even basic energy services, and you're making a push for clean energy. What does cheap oil do to all this? Are you at all concerned that a new era of cheap oil is going to kind of remove a momentum, in a sense, toward developing clean energy?
Well, the energy sector has always been split into two parts. The transport energy, where you need liquids that go in a gas tank, and then electricity. Natural gas in the United States really brought electricity prices down, and that's a big challenge for renewables because that's what they're compared against, is that. The transport energy always came at a premium, particularly when oil was $80, $100. Now, that transport part is cheaper. But if we can get a really good battery for the car, using electricity will still be economic, even against this very cheap oil. So it's tough for climate in that people will buy bigger cars, they will drive more miles, but if we can get the battery technology right, I still don't see us under threat of being able to switch that over to zero CO2 emissions.
Now, as a technologist are you optimistic about improvements in battery technology, and how critical is innovation to what you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, for the car, we're within a factor of 2 or 3 of the kind of range that people would expect. And so a lot of companies out there, it's not an easy thing to do, but I do think we'll get there. For the grid, for the intermittent energy, it's still way cheaper to have standby natural gas peakers than it is to do any type of storage. There we're more than a factor of 10 away from being able to do that grid type storage. So there's some work in that area, but it'll probably be more of a systems design with backup for the large grid level store.
Are you at all concerned that much of the tech industry is focused on really inventing new technologies for wealthy consumers and not devoting enough attention to some of the problems that you're trying to tackle?
Well, the great thing about IT technology is it does get very inexpensive, and so you have tablets, for $20 or $30 now. Nanda Neelankani in India's one of his projects now is getting free software so that kids, even when they're very young, can sit in the cell phone and do math and reading. So I think naturally that becomes broadly available. You've got to make sure the internet connection infrastructure is there and that's not too expensive. Now that doesn't solve malaria and TB and HIV, and so we need to make sure we're still getting government and philanthropic resources on these health-related things, including some like nutrition and reproductive health. They don't have the same visibility.
Melinda, when you visit places on the ground, what kind of role does technology and innovation play in what you're trying to accomplish? Will mobile banking on a cell phone be critical to accomplishing and connecting people to these economies?
Sure. So the mobile banking that we're seeing has become ubiquitous in places like Kenya, Tanzania, Philippines, Bangladesh. It's huge. People use it all the way out in the most remote rural areas. And so, for instance, for a family, if the husband goes and gets a job in the city, he can send money back on the phone that can be spent in that rural area. The other place it has a profound effect is for women, because when they can have their own bank account and they have control of the resources of their family and they're not negotiating anymore for those resources, they tell you it makes a huge difference, both in terms of how they're viewed inside the family and what they can spend the money on. So the health of their children, the education of their children. So making sure that she has access to the cell phone and has her own bank account is another piece that we're quite involved in because of how it empowers women.
And do you both support the efforts of Mark Zuckerberg and others to basically improve connectivity, because connectivity rates in many parts of the world can be tremendously high?
Well, that's not a big priority for us. We're a global health organization, and we do in the healthcare centers or helping farmers get advice, know the prices. We see the digital infrastructure as enabling a lot of the things that we care about. And so we are often talking with governments about, hey, your rural coverage is blocking some of the farmer advice systems or digital money systems that we want to see. And so policies that drive that are helpful.